Hey everybody, Edo here, and this is Familiar Alchemy. I actually backed this game on Kickstarter. I thought the art was interesting, and this creator was asking questions in the, in some of the Facebook Kickstarter channels, and it looked intriguing to me. And I was just, looking at it, I wasn't sure it was gonna fund. It did cross over and do that, and has been delivered, and is a pretty nice production and an interesting game. So we're familiars, or are familiars, or just playing as these characters. There are 4 you can use. So I believe it's 2 to 4. Maybe there's a 1-player mode. Let's see. I didn't play it. Come on. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say it's 2. Oh, there it is. Jeez. Yeah, 2 to 4. There's no 1-player, no solo mode. Which might be why I didn't play it. But anyway, 2 to 4 players. You each get one of these familiars. And what you're doing is you are harvesting ingredients to fulfill recipes, and there are a number of these potions that we're going to be making, and we're going to be scoring potions based on the points for finishing the potions. And we're collaborating to do that. Just on the component side, cards are fine. I like the art. There's some repeated art, but it's fine. These are great. These are like super duper small, thin tokens. I was just very impressed from a production standpoint at how detailed they are in the cut. And, to me, this was an interesting moment where I'm like, I'm going to do tokens like that in the future game. I dig these a lot. So what's the game? You're going to start, all players are going to have a couple of their own plants, which they draft, and then there's going to be a community number of plants based on the number of players, and then there are going to be some potions, I think based on the number of players. And what we're doing is we're going to be, and I'll talk about it, but we're going to be adding, we're going to be growing these plants, which is putting these tokens on them. Based on the diagram. So like this one starts with leaves and works its way up to the oranges and the stars. And all of them are configured different. We're going to be harvesting them by cutting to take different amounts of ingredients, and then bringing those ingredients to our backpack or to transmute them, and then using from our backpack, taking them and putting them into this board, this potion board, and you can see it, but there's icons on it. And so as this board will be filled with different player stuff, like it's not one player, we're working together. And the order in which it's coming in has to do with the value, and the quality of the ingredient has to do with value. They're not all worth the same amount of points. Flames are worth the most, and are most rare, and leaves aren't worth much at all. So on your turn, first thing you're going to do is you're going to apply one of your tokens to the community garden. Community garden's growing with a bunch of different colored tokens, and so when you slice it, you can get tokens from another player, and that's one of the most interesting things. So you have your tokens, but you're based on special abilities and things that are happening. You may be collecting other players. If a player takes more than they can carry, they got to distribute their own tokens to other players. But that could be good because, well, okay, and so sometimes you use those tokens to like cast spells, so you sort of, doesn't matter that it wasn't mine, I'm just casting a spell with it. But there are some cases where you might say, you know what, I'm going to use somebody else's token on the main board from my backpack, not because I want to give them points, but because they don't really matter, that maybe they're not in the same, they're farther back in the game, or because I want to score a higher value thing and I'm going to use theirs to get there. So it's a really interesting dynamic. But community pot, then you, on your turn, you can channel. And channeling is placing 3 ingredients on your plants. So what's interesting here is I'm filling in spots. I get to fill in 3 spots on this plant, but it's really, what I'm trying to do is fill upwards to get what I feel to be better. So it grows the same way. It's that as it grows, it's producing more valuable stuff. The flowers are at the top. Now, quibble about this game, and it's just like, there's no way you're going to see it. On these cards are like dotted lines, like little cut marks in between different areas on the plant, and it's very hard to see from a distance. You have to look in closer. It's unfortunate that I know why, right? You want to make the art look good, but it's like at the expense of gameplay. But they all cut differently, and when you cut off the top, so I could cut off either. I could cut from the bottom and take everything, or I could just take it from the top. So what's interesting about that is if I cut deep, I'm going to get more than I can hold, and then I got to distribute it to other players. And it will also take me a longer amount of time to get back to the good stuff. So there's and so cuts like this one has a low cut, a mid cut, and a high cut. Like this one is each arm's a different cut. Some of them have cuts for flowers. So the dynamic of how you cut the plant and where those resources are going to go and how long it is going to regrow it is great. I love it. Like it's very crunchy mechanical game. Like it's pretty dry. I'm talking about the theme, but the gameplay is pretty dry. But I really did enjoy that sort of having idea and where you cut and the impact to it. So you I talked about harvesting. Oh, okay, sorry. You can channel, you can grow, or you can harvest. You don't do both. You do one or the other. And then you can also brew, which is put things on the score track. Then there's transmutation, where you cast spells. The spells can, in particular, channel so you fill more stuff, but spells also let you change colors of ingredients and do a couple other different things. There's like a recipe thing that you can use that'll go through the different recipes. It's got some interesting graphic design, symbolism that you have to get used to, and how they're talking about same ingredient or different ingredient. But it works. I think the biggest, and when you cut, you have a scissor token. Scissor token goes on that. You just can't cut the same thing twice. You got to move around, which is impactful, but not so much. I mean, it's good to have it. And in fact, first game we played, we missed that rule, and then played it again. So the qualm is that those cut marks are like brutal to look at. Some of the cards, like, it's pretty, but you're just using this. I mean, like I didn't think it doesn't need to be quite that big. But the other thing that was just annoying is all of the tokens have different values, and that's important when you're for the score side, but in particular for the channeling when you're transmuting and how many you put out, which is very conveniently in the rulebook. But it's just not on the reference card. So like it's been a while when I'm like, hey, can I have the rulebook so I can like remember that? I think we ended up like in later games like made a sheet ourselves and just on a piece of paper just wrote out the values so that like you could just remember it quickly. I mean, it's not that hard, but like it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like okay, I'm gonna look at it. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm good. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. No, but it's 3, 4, 5, 6. But that's it when you're channeling, and then there's a different value, 1, 2, 3, 5. If you like, so they just if it's scoring, it's different than it's channeling, and it doesn't start at 1. So anyway, not crazy, but just something that I would have my life would have been easier if it was in the reference card, and they could have fit it if they wanted to, or not if they wanted to, but if they thought to, I think is a better way of saying it. It's a small, little, interesting game. I think it works. It is, you're just growing plants and you're cutting plants and growing plants and cutting plants. So it's not the most exciting game, but it has cool moments. I think I backed it to back it, and I enjoyed playing it. I think that it's about as good as it gets. Well, maybe not as good as it gets, but I feel rewarded in my purchase. I felt like looks pretty, works, it's cool. So anyway, familiar Alchemy. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.